I'm not an astronaut. I'm not an astronaut. I'm not an astronaut.
Just following that theme that Grace deals with of really
Bless you.
of really believing in himself again. I'm so curious for you, was there ever a role for you that maybe throughout your career you had a moment where you're like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, or I don't know if this is for me, and then that role really invigorated that self-belief for you again?
I think, I don't know if all of those things, but this role is sort of that. You know, this has been a 5-year journey to bringing this to this place. You know, when I read the manuscript that Andy Weir sent me, it was in this moment when theaters were closing and all the film productions had shut down, and here was the most epic film I might ever make, and just this challenge of like bringing it to life. And then once it was published, just realizing how much this book meant to people, that this was like, people were saying this is the best book they've ever read, and I agree, but it just kind of kept escalating, you know. And then just the practical challenges of making a film of this scope, but also maintaining the emotional core of the film. It just, there's a lot of doubt involved, and there was a lot of those moments, but I used it, I guess, because that's what the character's going through as well, you know. He doesn't feel capable of a lot of what he's being asked to do. Obviously, it's different. I didn't have the fate of the universe in my hand, you know, but it was like a little way to say, I get this.
I think every film has this question in it all the time. It's a job that's got so much to do with overcoming fear every time. I remember when I played Hamlet, that was a moment a few years ago when I thought, okay, I think I know how I want to do this job. Before I didn't know, I just did it. And I think that's when I found my approach and how I want to do it.
We see her very stoic, but we also see those little moments of warmth, especially with that karaoke scene. What was it like filming that and having that performance-esque moment in front of all of your casting crew?
Well, I actually have a new hobby. I try to sneak in a karaoke scene in every film. So the first time I succeeded, let's see what happens next. But it's scary to do that, of course, to sing karaoke in a film, especially when it's really, I mean, it was real karaoke and it didn't put the lines anywhere. And I knew the day before that I would be a part of the scene. It wasn't written there. So we tried to find a song, and I found a song of Harry Styles. And I asked Amy if I could take it, and she tried to get the rights for it, and she did. And I asked my daughter if it's actually a cool song, and she said, yes, it is. And so I learned it, and then we did the scene the next day, and I tried to, because you can be like really messy with karaoke, and it can be really big, but I wanted her to be humble in this and to give it as a gift to the astronauts who are leaving.
And I mean, it fits so perfectly too.
Yes,
with
right?
The moment. Yeah,
it's as if it's written for this film. Yeah, I think so too.
This is, I think, going to be a big family space odyssey that people go and
I hope so.
experience in the theaters. I'm curious for you, what was that film for you, given that we've had years and years of space odysseys, that you kind of hoped to bring an element of that favorite film into this role?
I think E.T. is like one of those films that most of us remember where we were when we saw it, like what it said about the moment that we were in, that everyone could connect on, you know. And I've been longing for one of those for my family, and I think that this is of that, you know, sort of category. I think it's one of those films that I was excited to make for my kids, because I want them to see this people being capable of more than they think that they are, that like turning anxiety into curiosity, of lower the temperature a little bit on fear, acknowledge it, but then also like some sort of solution on how to handle it, how to move forward.
I love that. Then have they been able to see it, or do they know a little bit?
They've seen many
it?
cuts.
Okay.
They've given many notes. They're only critics I really care about, and they are the harshest critics I know, and but they keep it real, and it's made it so much better.
I love it. I mean, you can always count on kids, right, to give you honesty. And my last question for you, and this is a little silly, but I noticed it in the film.
I put on glasses one time for my kids just when I was playing around with stuff for the character, and they go, "You look smarter." And I was like, "I'll wear glasses in this film."
Perfect. But I have to ask before I go, the sweaters. You already always have great sweaters in a lot of these press junkets, but Grace's sweaters are insane. How much of that styling did you kind of have input on?
Yeah, a lot, because I think that's sort of a way to communicate character, you know. But I do have to give credit to Val Kilmer and Real Genius, because T-shirts were his love language in that film as well, and I just was very inspired by his performance in that film, by that film in general. I just thought he made science so cool, felt so rebellious and fun, and I hoped to sort of channel a little bit of that for this generation, you know, because but you know, just Val in general, just he's always been an inspiration, but he definitely was in this film, and I hope that spirit is alive a little in the movie.
Given that this is a great space odyssey, was there ever one from past years that really stuck with you that you said, I liked this and this character in this film, and I want to bring a little bit of that into Ava and into the way I approach her?
Oh, God. I thought a lot about Morgan Freeman. I have to admit it. I love the way that he is present and warm, strict at the same time. He can deliver hard truths with such a love that is very inspiring to me. But I actually looked at the world leaders who are female that we have these days and how they do their job with such, in such a different way than we see in other places. And I found that very, very inspiring. And I was thinking about who I would want to be governed by. What kind of person would that be, whom I would trust and follow, and yeah, that's what I tried to put into this character.
The sun is dying. We have a doctorate in molecular biology.
And I ride a bike to work, and it's not for exercise.
If we do nothing, everything on this planet will go extinct, including us.
My sheep.
You also have this in so many different formats. I mean, we've seen you guys do that amazing promotional video for
It's a big day that day.
Yeah. Given that cinema and theaters are really struggling right now and people are fighting to keep them open, to keep people in those seats to go and experience these films, why was that important to both of you to say, let's give them that experience, let's give that challenge of how many different formats can we see?
So we've had the
as well.
and we've had the good luck of spending the last, while making this movie, going to the movies and watching people respond to Sinners, watching our test audiences respond to the movie all around the world, and learning how engaged that they were, how the audience are, especially young people, more interested in original storytelling than the previous generation. So we're really encouraged by the enthusiasm that we've seen for movies, and we tried to make a movie that you had to see in a theater, that rewarded you for going to see it loud and tall. We wanted to give you a huge spectacle that filled you full of wonder, but also an emotional ride, an emotional spectacle of watching two people really connect.
Right. It was being able to have it be full of laughs also. I mean, being in a room of people that are all laughing at the same thing, and then have these moments where it'll make you cry. That's part of doing that in a communal experience is part of why we go to the movies in the first place.
And I think this story, which is about how the entire Earth gets together and sends Ryan Gosling to space, right? The correct way to experience it is together with an entire group of people in theaters day and day all around the world watching that story at the same time.
We have these moments at these blockbuster films where it's a theater full of hundreds of people laughing together, crying together, being in a very communal space. As a creative, why are moments and settings like that really important to you, and how does that play into the idea of actors, directors, filmmakers really pushing to save theaters, to save cinema experiences?
I think that seeing a film in a theater, you're reminded that we laugh at a lot of the same things and we cry at a lot of the same things, and there's something about that that's really helpful as you go about your day-to-day alone. You have these moments of like community, and also I think storytelling is this opportunity to sort of experience scenarios that haven't happened quite yet, and sort of have an opportunity to work out solutions before we need them, And what I love so much about this film, and is that I think what Andy Weir does in his work, and I think what he's done so masterfully in this film, is like create an opportunity to sort of pivot away from dystopian future narratives that we're so saturated in and almost feel inevitable, and say, maybe the future is not something to fear. Maybe it's something to be figured out. And maybe we're capable of a lot more than we're being told. And that sort of, I think that's at the core of what the emotional response is that those of us who love the book and people who seem to love the movie so much are responding to.
I mean, Rocky, who would have thought I would be tearing up over a faceless rock creature in the middle of the cinema? But talk to me about what went into collaborating with bringing Andy's vision to life of what this character would finally look like. Because I know fans, I've been looking.
There's a lot of fan art out
there. They've been trying. They've been saying, okay, I'm trying to figure out what Andy was describing, but you guys truly said this is the final form.
I mean, I think we wanted to embrace the premise that Andy had, which is that he doesn't have a face, he has no eyes, he has no mouth, and he has 5 limbs and 5 sides, and there's 5 places that you can project a personality onto. So when we went with Neil Scanlon and his team at the Creature Shop to design Rocky, which took over a year, we were trying to figure out, how can I imagine a personality onto this particular rock face? So we designed faces that kind of, if you squint, it's sort of like you see a personality, like the way you look at R2-D2 and you kind of like, sort of has a face.
But then also we wanted to make sure that it had a range of movement that was expressive, so that the team of puppeteers that was operating him could really make him come alive. We put all these like carvings and markings on his body, so it showed a cultural history and an intelligence. And there's a lot of thought into every little detail on his body and the way that he moves, and it ended up being a beautiful marriage between puppetry and animation.
Met an alien. He's a genius engineer, and if I can't understand what he's saying, he puts on a little puppet show for me and my tiny brain, and you know what? I don't mind it. His planet's dying too. We're here for the same reason. Grace Rocky save stars. Am I expendable? It's almost like you don't care if I die. Hold on, you have to talk about it?
The consensus here is that it would be preferable if you did not die.
Thanks, guys.
This is the second time that you guys collaborate together. Drew, what is it about Andy's approach to writing novels that you enjoy as a screenwriter than taking and adapting for this?
I mean, Andy writes about these big, wonderful ideas, right? These big, epic, world-shaking ideas, but he always does it from a human point of view. So at its core, it is about people struggling and reaching out and trying to become better. And I think when you combine those two things together, you get something very special.
And then, Andy, for you, talk to me about what it's like then collaborating and bringing your novels to screen as well with Drew.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, Drew, of course, as you mentioned, he adapted The Martian too. Mm-hmm. And on this one, we all got together. We had Ryan on board. We had the directors. We had the producers. Everybody. We said like, well, who are we going to have adapt it? And we said, well, Drew, obviously, but he was busy, and so he was going to be busy for several months. And so we said, well, wait. We did not have a number 2 on that list. It was like Drew. Oh, he's busy. Then later on, Drew. And so it's such a pleasure to work with him. He understands kind of what I'm going for in any given story. He cherry picks out the most important aspects of it because, of course, you can't put every part of a book into a movie or it'd be 10 hours long. And he just really understands what my stories are about and kind of what I'm shooting for and trying to make you feel good when you read them in my case or see them in his.
I'm Grace. I'm gonna call you Rocky. Thumbs up. No, that's thumbs down. We do the thumbs up. It's close enough.